Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
So, welcome back to our discussions on mine closure and sustainability planning. I think in the last class we were talking about development of integrated mine closure. That in that integrated mine closure we have discussed about that how the whole mine closure operations will be right from the beginning with the mining process will integrate. Now, one important aspect of this mine closure management or the mine closure activity planning is the risk analysis technique and how the risk will be managed. So, today we will be briefly touching upon what is this risk, how we take into it, but that risk assessment itself is it is an independent subject. So, I will be just introducing you that what you will be expecting from your risk analysis and risk assessment classes. If you are having any course on risk assessment, then from there what you will have to look into for implementing in the mine closure. So, we will be discussing about the risk assessment approaches for your mine closure, and in mine closure the most important thing is to develop a conceptual site model. That means what is after mining, that whatever you are going to think of there, that concept development is very important. And while you are doing that conceptual planning, that conceptual model for the post mining site you develop, you take the number of different conditions you will have to foresee, and that is why you will have to start asking some questions for before going to the risk assessment or the risk analysis, where uncertainties and data gap exists, that is, and their characteristics. So, that means while you are going to develop the mine closure, that whether there is an information gap, whatever you have conceptualized, is it based on a sound information, otherwise you will be facing into different type of risk. Where contamination is located, that means if in your post mining site you are going to have certain uses, or if you want to bring some people to work or some cattle to develop over there, so is that contamination which are at present located from there, they will spread toxicity or what. So, that is what exactly you need to find out, what type of contaminants are present, that these contaminants which are at present now, what is their life, are they going to be themselves getting exactly accommodated in the nature, and then nature will make them that is your that will render it free from danger, because certain things are there, if it is left for a long time, then its adverse effects it get diminished, and at sometimes it will totally get, that means it will become a part of the nature, and the nature will not do any harm to you. So, whether that contamination is of that nature and how much is there, that is whether the natural environment, whether it will be able to absorb that within it, it will depend on how much is the volume. Then how contaminants concentrations vary over the site, and how much your spatial pattern is, that is, spatial pattern means how it is distributed over different area, where it is concentrated, where it is less, and where you start working something, how that will affect. So, while determining the risk, this type of information will be necessary. What is the predicted fate and migration of the contaminants, whether We are mine closure, as you know by now, that it is a future activity. It is in future what will happen, and that's why the prediction is a very important in case of your closure related activity. Now, in that prediction, that what model you are using, the correctness or the robustness of that model, that is also very important to know. Then who might be exposed to that contaminants? It is that the natural entity itself, the soil itself is going to be contaminated, or it will be affecting the fauna and flora over there, or you are bringing human being for certain use and the humans are getting exposed. So, depending on that, the risk can be different. If it is there is no plants, there is no animals are coming over there, that is a risk conditions can be different. If it is only the vegetation there is getting affected, so that means we will have to protect it differently. But if you are having a human activity over there and the human are now facing this problem, it will be a big issue. So, that is why while analyzing the risk, you will have to know that who might be exposed to the contaminants, what might be done to mitigate. That means the risk level is exactly, if you are finding that yes, there is a risk, but you are taking some steps, and by that the risk is reducing, and then it is getting a diminishing pattern. So, that is why that how you have, whether your risk is manageable, that will be exactly defining the risk, how adverse it will be or how it will be handled. Then what issues stand between the stakeholders and successful restoration, that is also very important thing. So, now you know that for such type of things we need to know very clearly what is the risk and what is the opportunity that could be coming from a post mining site. Now, after this class we will be, I expect that you will be able to enumerate the techniques of risk analysis, which will not be detailed discussed today's class, but you will have to know this technique so that you can learn from your risk management class. Then justify carrying out risk analysis for a mine site restoration. That is, you need to know that as a mine closure planner, as a sustainability planner, you will have to learn the risk assessment techniques, because if we cannot predict the risks, if we cannot assess the risk, and then we will not be able to plan the activities that will be necessary for that particular site. So, that is why. Now, you know that risk analysis is a process to identify and manage potential problems that could adversely affect or undermine business initiatives or projects. That is what is a definition of risk analysis. Now, in any planning job, this risk analysis is a very integral part of it. So, now that is what is there. You need to, first thing, the risk analysis starts with identifying. That means you will have to identify the risks, and for that what we will have to do, you will have to have a baseline survey. That baseline survey means what is there and then what is the existing status. And when we talk in terms of the environment, it is with the soil, with water, with your air, and with your societal aspects, how it is there. That is where the identification of the risk is concerned. Now, after that identification, you need to exactly assess its extent. That means how much it is, what is the degree of this risk, that need to be assessed. Once you know the degree of the risk, you will have to create how you will be managing. Now, that management, it requires a scientific investigation where that is your source and effect relationship of that risk, so that you can handle at the source or you can handle at the end results can be mitigated. Sometimes some of the risks can be eliminated at the development of that where from that risk comes at there itself. So, for example, if there is a risk of a certain gas emissions from a stake, now that if instead of trying to get a protective measure at a far end so that the people do not get affected, at the source itself, at the stake itself, if those noxious gases can be trapped and kept, that means you are handling the risk at the source. So, that type of situations will be coming, but the risk assessment process should aim at an effective management of risk. So, that means we are assessing it for managing, that is what is there, and for that you will have to identify very carefully that which risks are most in the need of reduction. That means the criticality of the risk, that will exactly help you to classify, categorize that these risks need immediate attention, this risk can be handled a little bit slow manner, this requires a urgent and emergency situation. So, that means if in a plant there is some poisonous gas is coming out, you cannot wait it for doing tomorrow, it will be done then and there, you will have to handle it somewhere, that is either the stop where from it is coming, or you give a barrier so that it cannot spread, or you will have to stop it. That is where exactly the risk analysis whole activity starts. Which risks need a careful ongoing management? Certain risks you will have to integrate with your operational management. That is why we said that is your mine closure is an integrated with the operations itself, you will have to put these things up. So, that is your that means certain risk you will have to go on monitoring for a long term. You are doing some activities, and over there you are just measuring what is the level, and then you will be doing as it is. So, for example, if you find that the more methane is coming out in a coal mine, underground mine, and you are not collecting that methane for your other uses, then when it will be going that methane into the ventilation air of the mine. So, you will have to keep more air so that the concentration of that methane goes, it becomes harmless. That means you will be just diluting it and then sending it out. So, though of course, the total content of methane going in released to the atmosphere, that is another different issue, but the risk assessment exercise should follow an appropriate process, that is for the mitigations what you will be following. So, now saying over that, I understand by now you know what is risk and in a mine closure, and then how your approach for that handling with the risk by a short term, a long term, or an immediate actions you will be handling the risk. But thing is that this analysis, that is what is the risk, how much is the risk, what is the criticality, those determination is called your risk analysis, and for that there are many techniques. That first technique, it starts with a brainstorming. You will have to get the experts and the affected people, and then those who are working amongst them, they have got different type of knowledge by different people. You will be doing a brainstorming amongst them to identify and postulate the risk scenario. When you start discussing in a brainstorming sessions, everybody will be giving his own experiences and all. From there you intelligently find and identify that what is the scenario of risk, and then you encourage more ideas. Exactly when some people are sitting together, you start a question asking, and then when a person is answering on that questions, the others also start, their thinking process is triggered. That is why the brainstorming ends in getting out the real ideas, real concept, real problems what it comes. So, and then another thing of analysis is to do the sensitivity analysis. Now, in sensitivity analysis, what is done, if there is a risk, then where from this risk is coming, you identify some different variables or factors they are affecting. Now, these variables, sometimes the sensitivity analysis is done mostly in a cost analysis type in time and in some of the economic return. When you are thinking there, the sensitivity analysis is done where you identified number of variables. Now, which variable is affecting how much? When you quantify it, then say for example, you're traveling from one place to another, then that exactly which factor will be making you more costlier. That is, whether you want to go travel by comfort, you travel by this having a very less time, or you want to travel with this your number of people and luggage. For this, then you find out that what are the factors will be affecting, then you will be finding. That means you will be going to pay more if you want to get a more comfortable journey. So, maybe for that comfort effect is coming, it is a more sensitive to your increasing the price. So, you can think of there what type of compromise comfort level you can bring, so that your overall cost of the travel is less. So, that is how exactly you screen the factors and find out which is affecting how much. That is a part of your sensitivity analysis. In the probability analysis, it is exactly you find out each of the variable, and in each of the variable what is their probability, how it will be affecting. So, that is where to specify a probability distribution for each of the variable to consider situations where any or all of these variables can be changed at a same time. If you change it, then how it is affecting, that is the probability distributions. That means, in a probability distributions you normally find out whether with a probability of a particular frequency coming, or there are different methods of this studying the probability. Exactly, that is your how probable it is. That means, whether there is, if it is certainly it is going to do that thing, we say that probability is 1, it is that it will happen, but it may or may not happen. Out of these two options, okay, its probability is 0.5. So, like that, when there is a more options are there, your probability will reduce. Then there is another method or technique you use, that is called your Delphi method, where you derive a consensus using the panel of experts to arrive at a convergent solution of a specific problem. You ask the opinion of the experts, and then their responses which is coming, that you statistically analyze, that is in Delphi method. And there is another very important and that most widely used is their Monte Carlo method. In a Monte Carlo method, they exactly simulate the situations to see all the possible outcomes of a decisions and assess the impact of risk, that is allowing for better decision making under uncertainty. In a Monte Carlo, then as you say that here in the Monte Carlo method, there are different steps they follow. First, they assess the range of the variables being considered and determine the probability distribution most suited to each. That is what is the first step. Then, for each of the variable within a specific range, they will select a value very randomly, they will choose it, and taking into account the probability distribution for the occurrences of that variable, that they will do. After that, run a deterministic analysis using the combination of values selected for each one of the variable, and they will repeat that all the things, and they get a number of iterations and then try to find out where it converges. Typically 100 to 1000 type iterations they will be doing, and from there they will find out whatever it is coming, how confident they are. So, these Monte Carlo simulations in your operation research or in your system research, you might be studying it. Now, here they perform the risk by building models of possible results, substituting a range of values, a probability distribution for any factor that has inherited uncertainty. That is where exactly the main in what is done in Monte Carlo simulations, and there they calculate the results over and over, number of time iterations they will be doing, and this Monte Carlo simulation, the whole process, you will find that they perform a risk analysis by building models of possible results. The first the results are estimated, that predicted this will happen, and in that they assign some values, and then they develop a probability distribution. Now that probability distributions can be of different thing. Again, what you have learned in statistically, that whether it is your normal distributions, Poisson distributions, triangular distributions, there could be a different type of distributions, and if then calculate the results over and over. That is where the iteration is a very important part in Monte Carlo, and then depending upon the number of uncertainties and ranges specified for them, this Monte Carlo simulation could involve a large number of your recalculated value before they will complete, and from there they will be determining that what distributions or what will be the possible outcome. That is what in a nutshell a Monte Carlo simulation is. But that probability distribution which it will be giving, from there your different outcome, how it will be occurring, will be found, and then you will find a very realistic way of describing the uncertainty of the variable. That means, say for example, in a mine you are having, say, the acid mine drainage problem. Say there is a that your overburden dump which has got these things, the leachate will be exactly producing acidic stations. That leachate as an acid rich water, low pH value water, when it will be percolating down, then the neighboring agricultural field, how it can be affected. Now that is whether there is a, you can say it is the probability of its affecting a agricultural field at a distance of say 2 kilometer is 0.5, 0.4, 0.3, we do not know, a little bit of uncertainty. So you will be identifying different parameters and factors, and then you will be simulating a number of possibilities, and from there you will be arriving at a value. Okay, that means this field has got, this is the probability that by which it will be getting affected. So that there are many tools for this, that is a software available now. You will have to, depending on your situations, you will have to put the input value in this. There is one that SimTools, that is a SimTools is a software. Similarly, there are a number of softwares. You can download some free. Also, there are some you can buy, and by that you can learn that how your this Monte Carlo simulations can be carried out for a mine site. And then when you do that distributions, which that Monte Carlo simulation does, that distributions can be, probability distributions can be normal, log normal, or uniform distributions. It can have a triangular distributions, they have paired distributions, they have discrete distributions, different type of distributions are there. So you will have to that exactly take some example after taking out this your software you can download for a Monte Carlo simulation, then take a problem for a real life mining situations and practice it. After that you will be developing this expertise to use this tool for mine closure purposes. So now that Monte Carlo simulation process is one. Then other technique is a decision tree analysis. Again, in your operation research class you might have read about what is called decision tree. That is it takes exactly the rules, they find out certain rules for that bringing the cost and time considerations in choosing different decisions, different alternative. When you want to say for your post mining site, whether you want to make it a playground, or you want to make a horticultural place, or you want to make a grassland, that is your three decisions. It will be exactly coming out that what will be your investment and how the return on investment will be coming after how much time. So that is exactly a decision problem, that whether the mine site which you have got after the closure, we will want to develop it for a goat farm. Say we can have very easily many of the your iron ore mining dump sites in there, though as such the overburden will not do it, but thing is that it can be treated with some of the topsoil, cow dung, this panchagabya, all these things can treat the soil very easily and very quickly. Within 3-4 months you can make it a grassland. So while you are making if you make a grassland, then if you can on that slope you can develop a goat farm, and then you give the community to take care of it, then they can exactly produce meat and goat milk. So or you want to get that, no, we will be developing it as a forest land. That means we will be just planting there some forest tree. After 50 years or 60 years those trees will be becoming a wealth for the nation. Decision is yours, you are investing at this time, and then how exactly you will be sustainable. After 5 years your mine is getting closed and you are developing a forest to be harvested after 20 or 30 years, how the forest department of the local community, how we have brought it, that need to be seen. So many a time our mine closure planning, they have given certain, that is a post mining land use, but without making a proper decision tree analysis. So here comes you, when you will be learning this, take out different situations and develop a decision tree analysis so that you can very clearly tell what is the risk. Then your utility theory is another one to formalize management attitude towards the risk, that exactly the how mine wants that risk to be taken, and for that how they will be doing the calculation or the expected value, and also the assessment of the results from the sensitivity and probability analysis. That there is a theory called utility theory. You can refer to books, textbooks in the operation research and then the decision making, and you can get it. The decision theory is also another one in industrial engineering management. There are many books on this decision theory. Put your ideas of mine closure and take up that, take a real life problem and do it. So that is when to use this risk analysis exactly is a very important point. That is, it will be useful in many situations. That is, when you are planning projects to help you to anticipate the neutralize possible problems, that is where exactly your risk analysis is done. When you are deciding whether or not to move forward with a project, whether you will be taking up this project or not, compare that thing and then discard and select, there you will be doing a risk analysis. When you are not, you are improving the safety and management potential risk, there also you will require risk assessment. When you are preparing for events such as equipment or technology failure, theft, staff sickness, natural disasters, all these places risk assessment is a very important, and particularly when you are going to do with the environment management, the risk analysis is a very important. Then another important aspect of the risk assessment is the risk quality. That you are taking a project, but you have thought that okay, it will be giving a good water or it will be giving a clean air. But thing is that whether that quality which we said as a good or as a best quality, as a pollution free, that quality, what is the risk that that quality will not be done? Your project will be ending, definitely some results will be there. What is the quality? It is exactly that you can bring a carpenter and that carpenter will make some chair. That chair, when it is coming, whether a 70 kilo person when it eats, it's okay, but when a person with 90 kilo sits on it, it may break. So that means the quality is not for that particular use. So for that, exactly what is the risk? Will that post mining site which you are giving, it can take the stress of a 90 kilo weight for next year? Similar type of things comes while you are assessing the risk. So risk precaution, that perceptions, it will normally that people do not in fact demands a zero risk. Nobody wants that the risk should not be there at all. That exactly there certain amount of risk will be taken by everybody. So you will have to also, while assessing the risk, don't see always that we want a zero risk things. People's judgment, the degree of risk is not, that is why, however, that is the most methodologies for measuring risk statistically. We take number of people what as in general they tell, that is more important. The public may greatly underestimate familiar risk. That is, sometimes what happens, they they will be telling that exactly if I buy a house near a nuclear plant, I will be in risk, and then they do not think, because they are once in a blue moon that risk may be coming. But while going by cycle on a maybe busy road, there is a high risk of any time a car can give, but there you go. But you do not think much in taking on a bicycle and going onto the road, but there is a high risk. So that's why how people take risk is a little bit different things, and you need to be a little bit aware of such type of situations while you are going your risk analysis. That is, your perceptions is very important thing. A variety of emotional, not logical factors control risk perception sometimes. That is your the sense of the personal control, that exactly how they will be managing risk. You will find that sometimes that is your risk is taken by experiences. You will find many times in some of the underground mining situations, the experienced people have died because they were taking additional risk. Because their perception of risk got changed during his experiences, and by that exactly he get himself exposed to a dangerous situation. Secondary are the qualities of familiarity, and conversely the dread things. That is, some greater the unfamiliarity and potential for connection to the gruesome, and the more it is likely to be judged as a highly risky and therefore unacceptable. Because exactly how you fear, how you are exactly, that is for some persons going into the underground itself, just standing in the gallery itself, he feel, oh no, how shall I go and all that thing. His fear is more for him, that is, he will be telling everything he will take as a risky. So that's why that is your how exactly you are familiar with the situations, that the risk perceptions will change. Once established, the risk perceptions are extremely hard to change. If you find that the people are saying, oh no, kuch nahi hoga, after that time exactly very difficult for the people to change it. So that's why while risk perceptions are very fundamental, they have got a relationship with emotional, and many times we cannot quantify exactly statistically or all that emotional perspective is there. So while you are going for analyzing, therefore, as I said, you identify the traits. The traits can be coming to the human, it could be operational, it could be your reputational trait, it could be procedural, project, finance, technical, natural, political, structural, different type of traits may be there. You identify that, and then you estimate. Estimating in the basis of a probability of that event, when it will be there, and then what is the cost of the event. If we take it, then that will give away risk value. And there are different way how you will be estimating this risk. So after, depending on the situations, you will have to estimate the risk, and then you will have to manage that risk. That managing is, that is whether you will be avoid the risk, whether you will share the risk, whether you will accept the risk, whether you will control the risk, or by preventive actions or by detective actions, that you will go on finding out where from it is coming, and there you solve it. So the risk assessment associated with mine closure is exactly to find out what will be the consequences and how they will be exposed and what are their probability. By that you can quantify that this is the risk, and then for that you will have to list all the consequences that may occur, and then the post mining hazard identification if you can do, then definitely you can determine what is the risk, and once you know, then you can mitigate. So post mining sites may have different safety risks, and investment for mine site restoration may face various risks, and the projected outcome may not be achieved if the risk is not properly assessed. So risk analysis should be carried out very carefully to avoid uncertainties and the induced uncertainty that may induce number of losses. And for that, when you come to a mine closure proper actions or proper planning, at that time you must bring those areas of risk assessment when you are thinking of ion migration, toxicity spreading, forest invasion by silt migration, vegetation species health risks, that your leachate spread, then a toxicity or contaminant spreading, then dust emissions from that area, how we will be covering. And then also there are many, we can make a list of it, just I have given you this example. But now you gear up yourself so that you learn that technically what is risk assessment, and those techniques which I have said, you please go through that and make your own learning activity to know that. And there are many references and textbooks are available. I have not mentioned here, but you can see in the websites also few things are there. But be careful, from the websites only don't study. Study a textbook from where you make your exercise, and then you download the software I have said, that SimTools and some other tools, and then you do a little exercise of estimating the risk. Thank you very much.